What's up, friends? Welcome to SPDM TV. My name is Mike, part of the SPDM crew, and I watch a lot of TV. We talk about various TV topics, reviews, and general appreciation of TV past and new. You can follow me on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and serialized at MLHT2452 to see what all I'm watching. This week, let's talk about what's going on with ABC and ESPN, and they're blacked out on YouTube TV right now. So, currently, as it stands on October 30th, so YouTube TV lost subscribers, or YouTube TV subscribers lost access to all of the Walt Disney affiliated channels. So that's ABC, ESPN, plus some of the conference specific stuff that includes SEC Network and ACC. And this just goes to show the plights of what's going to happen when all of these studios buying content up left and right. They're gobbling up smaller studios, and they're even buying some of the bigger studios. You're only going to get a handful of people at the table in order to get this situation hashed out. So, currently, as of when I'm recording this, which is Monday, November 10th, we still do not have any news about what's going on with ABC, ESPN, and all the other Disney channels on YouTube TV. Which this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy because we are pretty much at the point where streaming services have gotten to what we were doing with cable in the first place. And this is so incredibly frustrating because when we talk about things like cutting the cord, trying to save a little bit of money going away from cable, we have now gotten to the point where streaming, when you bundle all of the streaming services together, it roughly is equivalent to the cost of a general cable subscription now. And dare I say, it might even be a little cheaper to go back to cable. Now, the trade off of this is that you're not going to get as many of the original content shows that are out there, like anything that's on Netflix, anything that's on HBO Max, anything like that. You'll still have regular HBO, but you won't have the stuff on HBO Max, which, considering that HBO Max has shows like Peacemaker, The Pit, different things like that, it kind of sounds like you're trading down a little bit because HBO hasn't produced a decent series in a while, neither has FX, and a lot of the best shows on television this year are on streaming properties. So, one thing that I'd want to talk about is when you're picking streaming services, a couple things that you kind of have to keep in mind with that is when you're looking at some of the streaming services out there, a couple things that you need to keep in mind is you need to keep in mind how many people are going to be accessing it. You need to keep in mind how much it costs for things like commercials or for it to be higher quality HD. You need to consider also what apps or what devices are going to be connecting to this because sometimes these some of these different streaming services have some different ways that they connect to certain devices. Like, for example, when I had Xfinity Stream, I could not play that on an Apple TV Plus, which that is my preferred way to stream stuff on a TV, but I could stream it on a Roku. So I dipped into the Roku for a little while to have that, and guess what? I never used it. So not worth it there. So the other thing to kind of keep in mind is that trying to see what you can bundle together with it. So, for example, I have like the Disney Plus bundle, and I have this HBO and Netflix bundle as well. So save a little bit of money there, and then you could save a bunch on annual subscriptions as well. And then the the two big things that you need to consider with all of these streaming services is how much does it cost, and what is the content that I'm going to get out of this? Because if you're someone that likes original television or original movies, there's you're going to go a long way with things like Amazon, or you're going to go a long way with something like Netflix, for example, because both of those channels and both of those places, they're very much invested in volume. not so much care about quality, even though both have quality shows, but they're very much interested more in generating as much content as possible, which in this day and age where streaming service costs keep going up and people have to make hard choices when it comes to affordability nowadays, that's not exactly a strategy that's going to continue to work at some point. And I think a lot of studios, they're starting to figure that out because they're canceling shows quicker. They are, not they're spacing things so much further out when it comes to certain shows. They're spending an exorbitant amount of money on things that they're never going to recoup back. So you're going to see a lot more show or a lot more streaming service maybe contract their selections when it comes to their content. So, and when it comes to their content, there's usually about three things that I know for me I have to look at when it comes to the content for a streaming service. The first one is, well, what do they have that's existing? So, like their existing properties. So, for example, with Disney, you get Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and National Geographic, and I guess Hulu as well, because Hulu's going to be going away soon. So you have that. And then with something like HBO, you have the Turner Classic Movies, you have the DC stuff, you have the Looney Tunes stuff, which is in as a big thing. You have the Studio Ghibli stuff. So there's options of things to for you to go to. But then you also have to keep in mind what's original, what's something that you can only get on that particular streaming service. So, for example, if I'm subscribing to something like Paramount, I get the stuff that's on Showtime, I get South Park. That's an existing property. Never mind. Let's cut that. I get a lot of the Taylor Sheridan shows. I get the Yellowstone, some of the Yellowstone universe stuff. And then the other thing, like for me in particular, it's what's in it for my kids. What can I possibly get for my kids? Now, another thing that's starting to come up more and more lately is sports. What kind of sports can I access from my streaming service? And that's going to be something that is incredibly pivotal over the next couple of years, is what kind of sports and live events can you watch on your streaming service. So that's going to be something that you're going to see, that these big sporting events, these big, like grand, like these big sporting events, these random leagues that are popping up, they're going to get lots of streaming attention. So you'll see at some point that the NBA just did a deal with Amazon. They just did a deal with Peacock for more NBA coverage. There's going to be football games on net or more football games on Netflix coming up. So there are a lot of different things that you need to consider when it comes to your original or your streaming services and what you're paying for nowadays. So I subscribe to a bunch of streaming services, and I would like to talk to you about the ones that I think are worth it and the ones that I'm not really a huge fan of right now. And unfortunately, a lot of this is kind of in the moment, mainly because there are some of these who their streaming service is something that I subscribe to for a very specific purpose, and then I ended up just keeping it, and I don't really use it that much. And then I'll throw in some ones in there that I used to subscribe to that I very much enjoy, and that I definitely recommend other people check out at some point. So the ones that I've subscribed to before that I eventually gave up include Mubi, Criterion. I don't subscribe to AMC Plus, and I don't subscribe to MGM Plus anymore. And easily the one that I wish I had never subscribed to is MGM Plus, because MGM Plus should really just be part of Amazon. It really should, because if MGM is owned by Amazon, why does Amazon have Prime Video and MGM Plus? It makes no sense. So they should consolidate that. And I predict at some point that they're going to consolidate that. In addition to that, in order for me to watch MGM Plus on my Apple TV Plus, I needed two-factor authentication. And I'm not doing that for my Apple TV Plus or my Apple TV. I'm just not going to do that. So then I have AMC Plus. My AMC Plus, I use that for things like The Walking Dead. There's some interesting stuff on BBC on there, and I used it to watch Better Call Saul. That was a big reason why I decided to do that. Then Interview with the Vampire came on. I was very interested in that, and then I realized pretty quick if I'm only watching this for Interview with the Vampire and for some strange reason to continue to watch these Walking Dead spinoffs, then I'm an idiot. Like straight up, I'm an idiot because AMC Plus stuff has been going to Netflix lately. It's been going to all these other streaming platforms, and quite frankly, it's only a matter of time. I think AMC Plus their days are numbered, and at some point they're just going to be swallowed up by somebody else. With Mubi, I subscribed to Mubi so that I could watch The Substance. And that was a good investment because I thought The Substance was fantastic. It was one of my favorite movies last year. I still think Demi Moore got robbed last year at the Oscars, even though I thought Mike Madison was great in Honora. But I predominantly watched movie or I subscribed to Mubi so I could watch The Substance. And then with the Criterion, wanted to watch a couple movies on that for an article I was writing for Sip Pop, and I wanted to make sure that I watched it in its full glory. And those two are predominantly for movies. So if either one of those is your, is just what you're looking for, check that out. I also so in in kind of ascending order in terms of what I should or what you should prioritize versus what you should kind of let go of. The streaming services that I'm currently subscribed to right now, I have Apple TV. I need to stop calling it Apple TV Plus because it's just Apple TV. Got Netflix, Hulu, which is going to be going away soon, HBO Max, Peacock, Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, Stars, and Prime Video. Now, for all of those, at the bottom of this list would be Stars because most of the stuff that's on Stars you can get on Disney Plus now because Stars is semi-affiliated with them. But the other thing too is that their original programming is kind of in flux right now because as their Power Universe starts to wind down, what else is there? Because they tried to acquire or they acquired Minx, and their second season of that was not good. I'm still waiting for a second season of Sweet Pea, and Outlander is ending this upcoming season. So, what else is there for me to look forward to on Stars? And the correct answer is nothing because I just am not looking forward to that. My next on this list I'm gonna say that my next one is Paramount Plus, and Paramount Plus should have been shuttered a long time ago because their user interface is god awful, and then also their content is a little bit in flux right now because one of the pluses of AMC or a Paramount Plus is that you get CBS, you get MTV, you get Comedy Central, you get Nickelodeon, and you get some stuff from BET, but now you also get Showtime stuff. So that's a lot of good content. Plus also the movies that are from Paramount Studios. And Paramount Studios has had a pretty amazing run of movies, but they've also had a lot of crap movies as well. And their original movies are not great. Their original streaming properties are fine generally, but not anything up to snuff. There are mainly two reasons why I'd keep around Paramount Plus. And the first one is South Park. South Park's a big reason why I'm probably going to keep Paramount Plus around. And the second thing is the Nickelodeon content for my kids. Because at some point, both my kids are going to get back into Paw Patrol, and it's going to be a nightmare for me, but they're going to love it. Next on my list is Amazon Prime. And I hate to admit this, but Amazon Prime has just not had a good go of things lately when it comes to their original content. They've had a lot of swings and misses. They've invested heavily in certain genres, especially with the boys, Gen V, and Invincible, with at least the boys and Gen V ending soon. I think Gen V is pretty much done, and the boys will wrap up its run next year. Invincible, I don't know how much longer it's going to go. It can't be that long. And then you have shows like Rings of Power, who how much longer can Amazon keep investing money in Rings of Power before eventually they're like, oh, maybe we need to stop doing this? In addition, they have a lot of the MGM stuff, which is great. They have a lot of random stuff that they include in Prime, so I'm looking forward to that. But overall, Amazon is like the fact that it's included in your Prime Video subscription is definitely an added bonus, but that doesn't change the fact that their content is pretty mid when you compare it to some of the other streaming platforms. Then next one on my list would probably be Peacock, if I'm being perfectly honest. Now, I watch Peacock for a couple of things. I watch Peacock for the NBA, I watch it for the NFL, and then I also watch it for their NBC sitcoms. So that is where I watch Scrubs. That's where I watch The Office. That's where I watch Parks and Rec. Different things like that. In addition, they I think have cracked this code when it comes to their movies coming out on the streaming service shortly after they go on their theatrical run. I think they do that better than most of the other streaming platforms out there currently. So I definitely like Peacock more than others. I'm particularly fond of some of their original content. So I'm a big fan of Poker Face, Twisted Metal. I liked Bel Air for a hot minute. And I also liked the paper quite a bit as well. And I think Peacock slash NBC wised up and they're putting the Peacock on network TV now. So that's going to be a moot point. So next, we've got some of our heavier hitters here. And I'm not going to count Hulu in this because Hulu is just going to be engulfed into Disney Plus coming up soon. So and if I'm being honest, like I don't even count ESPN Plus as something that I would utilize or subscribe to. I use it more for like NBA articles than I use it for actually like watching stuff. Plus, also all the 30 for 30 stuff is on Disney Plus now. So who cares about ESPN Plus? So your four remaining players left. You've got Disney Plus, HBO Max, Netflix, and Apple TV Plus or Apple TV. So, and I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say that my number four is Disney Plus. Now, I feel like as a family, we watch Disney Plus more than any other streaming service, mainly because it's got Bluey, it's got all the Disney Channel stuff, it's got a lot of the Marvel and Star Wars stuff. And so for existing content, it's really good. And now that Hulu is going away, all of the Hulu original content will be there too. That's how I watched The Bear recently. That's how I watched Only Murders in the Building recently. And then all their other original stuff, like Andor's done. Most of their Disney Plus Marvel shows are going to be done, with the exception of Daredevil Born Again and whatever they do with the rest of the Netflix street level heroes, whatever they're going to do there. But there's not a whole lot else in the pipeline for their original content. So, what gives? What's going on there? So, plus, they keep increasing the price. I get it. We're watching a lot of great stuff on them. And also, their strategy for putting a brand new movie, so whether it's a Marvel movie, whether it's a Disney movie, whether it's a Pixar movie on the streaming service, it takes way too long for them to do that. But it always pays off because it's Disney, it's Pixar, it's Marvel, what have you. And eventually it'll happen with Star Wars too. So that leaves my one, two, and three. And my number three, if I'm being honest, is going to be Apple TV Plus. And Apple TV Plus has the benefit of just being all original content, but all of their original content, they're all heavy hitters. They're all really, really good. So if you're in the mood for quality television, and so-so movies for the most part, they have the first movie to win Best Picture at the Oscars on a show not produced by a conventional movie studio. So tip of the cap to them. Even Netflix doesn't have that yet, which they're trying so desperately for that to be a thing. But whatever. And that's they're still relatively reasonably priced. And if you get the Apple One bundle as well, it definitely makes it worth your time. If you watch one or two shows and you pick it up, then it's worth it. But there's a lot of great content on Apple TV Plus and a lot of stuff that I really enjoy. And then that leaves your top two. And if I'm being perfectly honest with myself, if this was any other year, HBO Max would be number one with a bullet. But because it's been this year and Netflix has just been crushing it this year, I am going to say that Netflix is number one and HBO Max is number two. And HBO Max has been getting better with their original TV, as mentioned before, with shows like The Pit and Peacemaker, and well, mainly those two. And then a lot of the shows that are on HBO, a lot of their other studio affiliates that they have partnerships with. I'm really glad that they rebranded to HBO Max because Max was a stupid name. I think somebody at Warner Brothers should be fired for that whole debacle. But hey, what do I know, right? So, and this is where, from a streaming service perspective, HBO is generally the most expensive, but you get what you pay for at the end of the day. But that leaves Netflix at number one. So Netflix, they have a lot of their great original content. They have partnerships with all kinds of the different studios, so you could find a variety of existing content. They've got a lot of great kid stuff. They have K-pop Demon Hunters. I repeat, they have K-pop Demon Hunters. They have sports. They have events. They have documentary. They have everything, and their subscription is keeps increasing in price, but they also back it up with value as well. So those are those all of this stemming from the ABC and ESPN blackout on YouTube TV, into a what should I be looking for in a streaming service to the top streaming services that I have on that I'm currently subscribed to. So, what's your favorite? Let me know what's your favorite streaming services. What do you typically look for in a streaming service? Let me know in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this episode of SPDM TV. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to anything and everything SPDM Crew wherever you get your podcast. Join us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Blue Sky at SPDM Crew. Check out our website at .com. Shout out to High Flyer Creative Studios for making our awesome logo. Greatly appreciate their support. And if you have any marketing, logo, or brand standard needs, contact them at highflyercreative.com. Check out the other shows on our network. We've got a lot of great content, so please check out the other shows on the SPDM crew and support the other members of the crew. And finally, if you've got a podcast idea or you're interested in being part of the SPDM crew as a guest or collaborating, email us at spdmcrew@gmail.com. Until next time, happy watching, friends.